So BMW have made a number of hot hatches in their time. However, this is their first hot hatch to run in front wheel drive form. So should you ditch your Golf GTIs and your Civic Type Rs and entertain the idea of this, the BMW 128 Ti? Well, for 30 grand, it's definitely worth a conversation. So what's powering this BMW 128 Ti? Well, under the hood, we get the 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. This one is the B48, the same engine you'll find in the M135i, the Mini JCW Clubman, the Mini JCW Countryman, and also the Mini GP3. However, GP3 and M135i are running 300 bhp. This is detuned to 261 bhp and delivers 291 foot-pounds of torque versus the 330 foot-pounds of torque you'll get from the GP3 and the JCW Clubman, which means a simple remap and you're running 300 horsepower in this thing. So the first thing we're probably going to need to do is address two elephants in the room, because there is two, and he's not an elephant, he's a pig. Anyway, first one is the red accents on this Ti model. I'm not necessarily sure I like them, if I'm honest with you. I think they're a little bit, I don't know, tacky? Is that the right word? I think yeah, I'm going to say they're a bit tacky. I don't particularly like them. We've also got the Ti badge stuck on the side, because the challenge you get with 1 Series cars is they all look the same. So BMW have made the effort to make this one stand out a little bit. The second elephant in the room is this, it's the front end. And you guys all know my thoughts on the front end. When I had the BMW M135i, I liked all of the car except for the front end. And actually in this case, it's no different, because the front end is still very similar. However, what I do like these gloss black kidney grills. I think they look far better than the, what they called cerium or champagne gold colored hexagon grills. I just didn't think they worked. This looks far better. And actually, even if you're not going to buy this car, buy these grills and put them on your M135i. It'll make it look a hell of a lot better. Now, we get 18-inch wheels on this car. However, you can go for 19-inch wheels. They fill out the arches a whole lot more, but as this car doesn't have passive suspension, you've got to think of that compromise, because it could make the ride slightly harsher, and you don't have the added luxury of just pressing a comfort button and having the ride adjust itself. So yeah, so that's kind of the trade-off. I've driven this as well, and actually the passive suspension really is an issue, as you're going to find out when we drive it. So the burning question, the $1 million question, or in this case the £30,000 question, is this a better Golf GTI? It's an interesting one. Let's go and find out. You coming? Okay. Because VW have had plenty of years to get this right. BMW, this is their first front-wheel drive hot hatch, so should be interesting. As you get inside the BMW 128 Ti, it's not as, should I say, boy racery looks as the front. It does still have a kind of hint of, look at me, I'm a bit of a boy racer, but it's a lot more elegant in here. Really, it's kind of this Ti badge that kind of shouts, hey, I'm front wheel drive. And also this very loud red interior. But other than that, it's very sophisticated in here. It's very nice. The steering wheel, for me, BMW love to add a whole lot of padding to their steering wheels, and I just don't understand why. You know, cars like the Golf GTI and that, their steering wheels are a lot thinner, and they just make for a nicer feel. But the paddles are good. We get lots of kind of creature comforts with your kind of cruise control. We get all that jazz. We've got some red stitching in and around here, the steering wheel, which also looks quite nice. But the center screen here with the kind of BMW operating system 7 and the massive screen, which I currently have Apple CarPlay playing on, is pretty superb, if I'm honest with you. And also in true new 1 Series form, you probably won't be able to see it because it's quite light, but here on the sides we get the kind of veiny, artery looking LEDs, which I like. Some people think they're a bit tacky. I think they look very, very cool. In terms of the seats themselves, whilst they're extremely red, they're very comfortable. And also you get really good space in this car, back seats and boot space. So yeah, go figure. Now, question is, how does it drive? So as said earlier on, we get 261 bhp from this thing, 295 foot-pounds of torque. What does that kind of translate into in terms of acceleration? 6.1 seconds to kind of be exact, but I'm more keen on the what's it like front wheel drive. Let's see. Okay, that's 0 to 60. This very much reminds me of the Mini GP3 to an extent. The Mini GP3 on roads with kind of undulations was all over the place, but I quite like that. I like a bit of torque steer, and this is no different. This really does kind of pull you. And the interesting thing is that BMW made some changes to the kind of setup of this car in comparison to that of the BMW M135i, such as kind of moving braces to the rear of the kind of chassis to try and prevent things like understeer. They also played with the geometry of the car, played around with a toe, I believe, to help with the fact that this is front wheel drive rather than four wheel drive. But you can see it torque steering a hell of a lot. However, that does kind of translate into a very kind of nimble like front end. You can really kind of throw that front end around, and actually there definitely isn't anywhere near as much understeer as you'd expect from a front wheel drive car. Is it fun? Yes, it is. Is it as fun as a Golf? Well, I mean, it's just as fun as a Golf. Is it better than a Golf? I'm not necessarily sure. But then again, Golf have had years and years to kind of finesse their hot hatch, if you like. Whereas this is BMW's real first stab at a kind of front-wheel drive hot hatch. And actually, I think they've done pretty well. There's definitely some learnings that they can take from that. But with this car as well, we get the 8-speed torque convector auto gearbox. There's no kind of ZF gearbox that we're used to seeing in cars such as the M140i and all that jazz. You don't get any of that. Oh, this is... I tell you what, guys, when you actually get to throw it around a corner, it handles really well. My challenge is that it's trying to throw me all over the place. So, yeah, very similar to that of the GP3. And whilst a lot of people are not going to like that, a lot of people are going to find that very intrusive to the drive, I quite like the idea of manhandling a car a little bit. I think it adds to it, the character, it adds to the excitement, doesn't it? In terms of its weight, it's 80 kilos lighter than the M135i. This comes in at 1,400 kilos. And yeah, you don't really feel any of that weight, if I'm honest. It does have hot hatch characteristics, and believe me, I have driven a lot of them. I've driven a lot of hot hatches, and this for me, whilst I have that very kind of premium interior, you know, I get a premium dash, you know, it looks very, very nice. It still gives me that fun factor that a hot hatch should, and that's important. The other thing that I like about this as well is the way this car delivers its power. Its kind of peak power starts to kick in. Well, a lot of the boost kicks in around about 2,000 RPM. You have plenty of low down torque. It does mean that you do start to hear those tires squealing a bit when you unsettle those kind of that front axle, but it does make for a lot of fun. And also it makes you feel like you're going a lot faster than you actually are, because 6.1 seconds to 60 in these, in new money anyway, isn't a hugely quick hot hatch, with cars like the RS3s and all that bringing you a 3.8 second A45S, etc. But this isn't targeted to that market. You know, if you want something like that, you go for, what would you go for? You can't really go for anything, because RS3 and A45S are in their own league, aren't they? That was a silly argument, that. Not entirely sure if you get a proper launch control in this car, but I mean, it raised the revs and did its thing. But again, 6.1 to 60, it's very reasonable for a car of this kind of power, this kind of punch. And yeah, I think it's as a whole, I think it's a great little platform. Yeah, put it into kind of sport mode on the gearbox, everything feels a little bit tighter. As I said, the throttle becomes much more alive, and yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. I think that's really that's the magic word of this video. So final thoughts, kind of wrapping up the video then. The way I sit here, in fact, I'll go back into comfort. I mean, not like it makes a difference. I'm not getting any passive dampers, but it just gives my right foot a little bit of a breather because of this throttle positioning thing that they've got going on. In summary, I really like the car. You know, is it as good as a Golf? I think in some aspects, absolutely. In some aspects, not. I think interior quality is great. But like I said, I just feel the Golf is just that little bit more focused than this car. And again, nothing bad about this. Golf have had flipping ages to master their craft. BMW still getting started in the world of front wheel drive. So I'll take my hat off to them for giving it a flipping good go. The seats, again, whilst they're very red, they're very comfortable. You know, as a driver, I sit very low. I've got a great head-up display in front of me. I love the colour of this car. I do think it looks super nice. I'm not a fan of the red accents on the side. I just think they look too boy racery. I can get why BMW have done it to try and make this 1 Series look slightly different than all of the other 1 Series, because they all look the same. And that's always been a fundamental issue with 1 Series, is that they all look the same. There's no real distinctive difference between them all. So BMW thought that by making this stand out with a big red TI logo on the side and some red accents, that maybe it would stand out in front of the crowd. Well, it definitely does that. But where it does stand out from the crowd is in the way this thing can take corners, because it is super fun. And yeah, you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy driving this. So if you're thinking about one of these, if you're thinking about going for a Golf GTI, I would urge that you have a go in one of these, because you never know. You might say, actually, I'll take the 128 Ti. Me personally, I'd take the Golf GTI, but that's personal preference. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done already, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.